This podcast on stress is a part of the Spirituality and Healing and Healthcare course and is an introduction to a larger topic on stress. The physical signs of the stress response are fairly easy to obtain. They can be directly measured when a subject is in a state of stress. The heart rate increases, the blood pressure increases, the metabolism increases as measured by the rate at which the subject consumes oxygen. Blood flow to the large muscles increases. There is a corresponding decrease in blood flow to the small muscles, apparently because fine motor skills are not what is needed in this moment of stress. And also a decrease in blood flow to the digestive organs, a loss of ability to digest, to reproduce, to do those kinds of things that are not really necessary in a moment of danger. There's also an increase in circulating blood sugar because the liver is converting stored glycogen into glucose, so it will be available to body tissues for energy. The physiology of stress has become pretty well known in recent years, largely through brain physiology studies. It is now known that a large part of what happens here involves the HPA, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland, the pituitary in turn signals the adrenals, and the adrenals release hormones, adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, norepinephrine. The result is that the sympathetic nervous system is aroused. What happens then is that through chemical pathways and neural pathways, the brain acts to increase heart rate, blood pressure, blood flow to the lungs, to the brain, to the large muscles, decrease blood flow to the gastrointestinal tract, to the small muscles, and to the skin. There's actually an increase in the clotting factors in the blood. Very handy if you happen to get mauled by a lion or a bear. Something that you definitely want to have going for you. This is, in fact, what Dr. Walter Cannon in the early 20th century identified as the fight or flight reaction. When faced with danger, we, like other animals, respond with a fight or flight reaction, the ability to stand up and fight hard and to overwhelm our enemy, or to run as fast as we can in the other direction and save our lives that way. This is a stress response that is designed for short-term use, either to run away or to fight hard, but the idea is to get out of the immediate dangerous situation. It is a survival mechanism, and it works really well. If you are attacked by a bear or a great white shark, or you're trapped in a burning building, or somebody comes after you with a knife, or whatever the stressful situation might be where you need to either run for your life or turn and fight. However, the thing that we need to recognize here is that the fight or flight mechanism, the stress response, was never intended for long-term activation. It was intended to be an immediate response, a short-term kind of thing. In fact, it's been found that there are harmful long-term effects of the stress response. This involves, after all, powerful chemicals called stress hormones poured out into the body, circulating through the bloodstream. And these powerful stress hormones have some very powerful results. They can produce abnormal heart rhythms, not only high heart rate, but also arrhythmias. They raise the blood pressure. They, as I said before, produce faster blood clotting, which is real handy if you're mauled by a bear, but is not a good thing if you already have narrowed coronary arteries or atherosclerosis in the arteries of your brain. You definitely don't want to be throwing blood clots. The powerful chemicals of the stress response produce abnormal alterations in metabolism, circulating glucose, so it's available to the cells, which may have something to do with the development of type 2 diabetes, adult onset diabetes, which has become an epidemic in this country. It produces an unpleasant state of arousal, which most people would not want to live in, a state of anxiety, a state of panic, a state of apprehension, which then produces mood disorders of various kinds that may result in people medicating themselves with other drugs that are not good for them, or maybe eating themselves into obesity, alcohol addictions, those kinds of things. Also, of course, the resulting anxiety produces depression. It can produce high blood pressure in a chronic form, hypertension, essential hypertension that has no obvious cause, about most of the hypertension in this country. And it can produce various kinds of metabolic disorders.